I first got involved with interest in Gambia about 7 years ago, where my sister-in-law said about there's a project sponsoring kids, and for 20 quid a month you can actually sponsor a child to go through full-time education, food, clothing. So I thought that's a great idea, so I got on board with that and I sponsored 5 or 6 kids. And then 3-4 years later I thought, right, we can open this up now, let's get other groups to fund. So at the moment, at the various businesses and contacts, we sponsor 40 kids. And then something happened last year with one of my eldest. She's now 13. We started sponsoring when she was 6, had to leave school to go to high school. But there is no facility to carry on the sponsorship. And she was mortified to lose all the support she got, to have to go to another school and not get in and then not have the facility to keep going. So the school and I got together and we formed a business plan. We reviewed every aspect of the school, created a red, amber and green list. So we've identified all the reds, which are the most critical aspects that need to be resolved, the ambers, which is the next stage, and then lastly the like to do's. And one of the biggest things was, how do we create an ongoing pathway so the kids can have confidence to go on to high school? Now, as there aren't any private schools out there, unless the kids pay for themselves, which they can't, then the best option was actually build our own high school. So actually we've bought the land, and the project is then to actually build it. Then on the back of this particular project, Julie, who runs it, introduced me to Jackie, who runs a glove project, a kids amputee program, which is just heart melting. So I got heavily involved in that, and again got drawn into the structure, looking at all the must do's, could do's, should do's. So we've now structured that business now to be self-sufficient for the next 12 months. Then I was introduced to Anita at Bansang Hospital, similar sort of thing, but they're a much bigger operation, so I have much less impact on that than the smaller ones. But then on the back of that, we got introduced to Alpha, this young lad who was dying when he was 6 years old, who went to Jofi school, was rescued, and he's now dedicated his whole life now to going back to Gambia. Now he's qualified in the UK. So I facilitated them all coming together under a single collaborative new charity we set up called Affinity Vision. And I'll be taking that to governments and trustees and patrons and corporate companies to try and represent those 4 individual projects under a collaborative called Affinity Vision. And my role is to try and raise £1.5–2 million over the next 2 to 3 years to help build a new school, to help extend the hospital, to build a new hospital, and to extend the children's amputee programme. So that's my mission.
When I arrived at the hospital, I was taken to the children's ward. And it's very difficult for me to actually turn the clock back those 31 years because it was so horrific.
Living in squalor, living near the quarry, just scavenging for food and trying to live day by day.
Every child with a disability in Gambia generally is abandoned. They're not worthy.
The children weren't getting any education because they couldn't even afford to feed themselves. So the parents couldn't afford to feed themselves.
The only things they can ever be or become are beggars and nothing else.
I can't describe to you what it was like to hear the cries, the whimpering, the look of the mothers looking at me, hoping this white woman had medicine to cure their children. It was at a point where I thought, I can't do anything here. This mountain is too high for me to climb. I can't help it. It's really tough at times.
How much people suffer when it comes to health. I always have it in my dreams to make sure one day, if I am able to save enough money, I'll use every single penny I saved, take it back home, try to develop a health center for the community.
But what I did realise is that there is no way I could return to my very privileged life, having seen or witnessed what I had, and to know how my children are privileged to live in a village, in a nice community, and yet these people are suffering.
For the future, very much the overall aim is to have a purpose-built rehabilitation centre.
We want to produce a school that can really stand out and be proud to say that we've able to help everybody.
We have plans in the pipeline for a 60-bed female ward, which will be medical and surgical with all the other units attached to that.
We want them to be able to stand on their own 2 feet so that they can be the future of the Gambia.
Because once you have a belief of doing something, that's a big weapon that can really help trigger doing great things. And with what we have achieved so far, and with what we are aiming to achieve, once it is done, I believe this will be a big example.
We need to build a school now that will provide the less academic children with skill centre, as well as the academic children, giving them the opportunities to go on to learn.
So I always thought dreams don't come true, but mine do. And I'm hoping that anybody listening today will appreciate just how important this is. And this is a hospital that is a blueprint for others to copy.